One of my favorite thinkers is Ludwig Wittgenstein. This is partly because he looks awesome. I mean, look at that face. Few other philosophers can compare with that face. That is the face of a winner at philosophy. He is truly the David Tennant of the philosophers. Yeah. Then there's actually his philosophy, which is pretty cool too. I'm not actually sure if I understand it completely, but I think I have a good enough grip on some of the points that I would like to share with you as my 200 subscriber special. Wittgenstein wrote a book called Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, whose main purpose, in a nutshell, and amongst other things, was to lay out the structural rules that all language, by virtue of it being language, must follow, and then determine what language can meaningfully express. In other words, what can be said at all can be said clearly, and whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. An excellent way to describe this is through typology. Wittgenstein would say that those things which typology is able to talk about meaningfully, in other words, those subjects and philosophies that fall under the head of typology's definitions, can be explained with typology in very clear terms once they are properly understood. Long, complicated explanations are only the result of a person's difficulty in wielding a language. Meanwhile, assuming, for the sake of argument, that such things as behaviorism, favored color, astrology, or mathematics, or obsessive-compulsive disorder, are not in the domain of typology, this would mean typology cannot talk meaningfully about them. It might very well try. Someone could say that introverted feeling users prefer a particular shade of blue, or say that introverted intuitive users are usually smarter than other people, but neither of these statements refers meaningfully with typology. Introverted feeling has nothing to do with a person's preference for color as it is defined in the theory, nor does introverted intuition have anything to do with the intelligence analysis. In Wittgenstein's case, he might have recommended a more philosophical example, claiming that the argument over whether an already existing future necessitates a loss of free will is entirely meaningless because, if we were to get a proper bird's-eye view of what we're talking about, we would realize there are factors involved we could have never imagined, to the point that to even say that the universe, quote, already exists, or, quote, loss of free will, are not even wrong, but entirely meaningless, and do not reference how reality actually is, but only our limited, distorted perspective of it. It would be like two children arguing over whether the monster under their bed is a mammal or an insect. One says it can't be an insect because she's never seen an insect eat a person before, but she has heard of plenty of bears eating people, therefore it's probably a mammal. The other says just because you haven't seen an insect eat someone doesn't mean it hasn't happened. This argument might be very logical on its own terms, but it is entirely meaningless, because there is no such thing as monsters who hide under children's beds, yet the children are perfectly able with language to talk about it as though it were the most reasonable assumption in the world. This kind of confused use of language, this unregulated interchanging of definitions, and each of us making the assumption that others know what we are talking about by using a particular word in an unexplained way, has seduced many people into all manner of misunderstandings and misuse of ideas. You've probably seen all kinds of embarrassing arguments in Facebook or YouTube comment sections where the participants get caught up arguing about something that doesn't even mean anything anymore. Therefore, what we cannot talk about meaningfully, we should remain silent about, in order to avoid such arguments and wasting each other's time. Wittgenstein's goal was to teach us how we might avoid such confusions through a proper understanding of language's structure and the resulting limits. Whether or not Wittgenstein's book solves this problem or not is still up for debate. What is not up for debate is that he later retracted many of his ideas in the Tractatus and proposed a competing view. While the Tractatus assumed, along with most traditional philosophy, that truth is something separate from language, whether an objective truth or subjective truth, and that language is an attempt to reach out towards this already existing truth. Thus, language only gains meaning when it corresponds with this truth, when we adequately describe something outside of ourselves. Wittgenstein said this is not so. He claimed that what we say is truly what we mean, and that is the truth of it. Our words are not endowed with meaning from some store of truth within ourselves or perfect dogma existing in a realm of forms, but rather they are endowed with meaning by the way the word is used in a person's individual culture, whether that culture is one's private language, or the culture within their immediate family, or an entire society or civilization. Thus, Wittgenstein said that we play language games, or adhere to a set of rules that determine what certain signs, gestures, or sounds ought to mean, and which differ from group to group. Under this philosophy, we should feel perfectly free to use typology to talk about as much as we want, but should remember that the meaning of our words is relative to how they fit into a particular language game. We may very well talk about introverted feeling preferring the color blue, but that is not the same introverted feeling that another group is talking about. We may come up with 2,000 different words for the same thing and thus cover all of its facets, or we may come up with one word for a group of things to demonstrate their relationship. So, the task of philosophy is not to determine what the secret dogma is that words are reaching towards, but to watch and learn how words are used in various language games and thus determine each relative meaning. Or something like that anyway. You may ask, Michael Pierce, are you going to do this random philosophical meditation thing every time another 100 people subscribe to your channel? And I would answer, I have no idea. I haven't thought that far yet. I just like to explain things, and so long as my viewership is interested in watching those things, well, it helps me understand them better anyway. Hi, I'm showing you my beautiful face again. Not going to do that much, but I just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys have been great. I love the comments and the questions that you give me and stuff. I know that my answers can go on for like 909 lines or so. I write you a dissertation to answer your questions and stuff sometimes, not all the time, but I'm assuming that you appreciate that to some degree, but let me know if I get too long-winded. But thank you. I only had time to put up the one INTP video, I think, before I got another 110 subscribers, and it's really cool to me to have that many people interested in what I have to say. So I hope I can make it worth your while, and that I can continue to make quality videos, make stuff that's genuinely useful for you guys. And let me know if there's anything I can do for you, and I'll do my best to be of service to you. So thank you so much again, and you guys have a great week.